Subtle skills, big results.
Welcome to the Ninja Selling Podcast. Welcome back to another Ninja Coaching Spotlight. I'm excited to have two amazing people with us today, and Matt, who's also amazing, but I'm talking about two other people that we have with us. So let me quickly introduce these guys because I'm so grateful that we get to do these spotlights because the journeys that I find, I mean, I know a lot of them. I've been around Ninja for long enough, been around these ninjas for long enough that I know personally a lot of these journeys, but it's so great to hear the journey told by the person that's been experiencing it. And that's what we're going to be able to give you today. So we're excited to be able to do this. So first off, let me introduce Christina O'Neal, and I'll let her just give her a little background here in a second, but she has her own company, which is Roundabout Real Estate in Oakdale, California, just outside of Tracy. Tracy, if you're not sure where Tracy is, it's basically east of San Francisco. Wonderful, wonderful area. Christina is new to the business. She's been doing this since 1999, and she is a veteran of Ninja installations, anything she can get her hands on with Ninja for a long time. So, Christina, good morning. I'm so grateful to have you with us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're going to have a ton of fun. Now, also with us today, we have Mark Johnson. Mark Johnson is her coach. He's from Grants Pass, Oregon. And Mark, good morning. Thanks for joining us also.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me.
All right. And Matt, welcome, sir.
Good morning.
Love it. All right. Well, Christina, I'm grateful to have you with us today because, again, you are somebody who's literally been around Ninja almost as long as I've been around Ninja. And that group of us is small that are still going down the path and sticking with it. And you were introduced to this. I know a lot of our listeners know who Terry Johnson is, one of our instructors. And you literally were in the class with Terry Johnson the first day that you guys got introduced to all of this. Isn't that correct?
Yes, that is absolutely. I had no idea what I was going to an all-day class for.
Hey, you got pulled into this, which is absolutely great.
And it was life-changing.
Oh, so tell us a little bit about that because we're going all the way back to 2001. You had your first Ninja experience on September 11th, 2001.
Yep.
Like, what a day to start Ninja. So tell me a little bit about that because you were in a class with my dad.
Right. Which was fun. Yes. Which I didn't know it was going to be so fun. Yeah. I didn't even know we were actually going to have the class because 9/11 happened before the class started because we're in California. And they're like, no, we're going to go ahead and do it. And I'm so grateful because I feel like we were all wondering what was happening. Is the world falling apart right now while we're in this class? And so we didn't have the TV on. So we didn't have, I don't even know if there was really texting or all that stuff that there is now with social media. So we didn't actually know what was happening. So we just said, well, if we're going to be here, I guess we better pay attention since the world might not be there when we come out.
Well, I know a lot of people put their world on hold that day, and for good reason. A lot of people said we're not moving forward, and I find what's so interesting is the trajectory of Terry Johnson and yourself, and a lot of others that were in that class that day. If they would have put it on hold, there's a very good chance you may not have been able to experience Ninja. Terry Johnson may not have experienced Ninja that way that day,
Right.
which means that a lot of history would have changed. So I'm so grateful that my dad said, well, I remember he asked all you guys, said, do you guys want to do this or not? We don't have to do this. And everybody agreed that we're staying here. Let's do the class. Let's stick this with us today. And so what an incredible way to start. Now, since then, you went to this and you've had some pretty incredible growth in your business. Do you want to share with us just briefly, and then we're going to tell your whole story, but I want to jump in real quick to what have your successes with Ninja been since you started down this path?
I realized that I loved working with my people more than I loved working with strangers. That was way more fun. And that's probably what really attracted me to Ninja because I like my people. I like my friends and how fun. I guess it's just more fun when you're working with your friends.
100%. So your journey of income since you've been going down this path, obviously something made you say, I want to go, or I'm going to listen to my friend Terry Johnson and go to an installation. What was your income like back then, 2001? And what has been your income journey since you've been, because you have had some incredible successes.
So I was $100,000 a year girl forever. And I probably did anywhere from 12 to 18, maybe 20 transactions to achieve that in our area. And let's see, I think 2016 was when I started, when I did an installation. I found out they had this 4-day fun thing. And I said, okay, I'm going to try it. I told Terry I'd love to go and learn. And I got to basically do a ride along, if that's what you would call it. And we drove together to the class. We stayed together and I couldn't believe what I learned. It was just ninja on fire. And then that's when I said, okay, I need to get coached. I need to implement everything because I had fallen in love with Ninja in 2001 and I had picked little pieces here and there of what I really loved, but not everything. And so then the installation just took it to a whole nother level with me.
Now, how many installations have you been to now?
Oh gosh, I'd say 7, maybe 8. I've also been to a leadership installation too. Because when I opened up my own company, I thought, okay, I need to go to this too. I need to learn this. And I dragged my husband along, which he was not a realtor. So I needed, if I was going to open up a company, he's going to have to go with me and learn all about it. And I'm so grateful that he did.
I love it. Now, so Mark, I want to pull you into this here for a second because this is then where all of a sudden Christina said, you know, well, let's get serious with this. Let's take this to a different level. Let's implement all this stuff that I've now been hearing about for a long time, and decides to bring in a coach. How long have you been coaching Christina for?
We started November of 2016. I still remember because it was Christina's birthday. She's like, this is my birthday present to me. You know, Terry said, get a coach, talk to Garrett. And we started it. It's always got to use that. It's an easy happy anniversary, happy birthday call.
Right.
What a great birthday present.
Yeah.
Completely.
That is awesome. Now, Mark, what was it like getting started with Christina too? Because she's coming into this with you with 15 years of Ninja, right? And now she's working with you. So what did you see kind of starting with Christina that obviously was really great? And what are the things that you started to really tune up on initially, even though she already was pretty well versed in Ninja?
That's a great question. So I know Christina is okay. You give me permission to kind of share some of your numbers and whatnot. So you had a drop down. I think the year before we started, you were like 190 something thousand in commission. And the year that we were just started, 2016, you were like 150-ish range. And then, you know, we started out by looking at your receiving goal from the installation and it was like 888. And I'm like, okay, hey, you got 4 times your mark, you know, let's go. Right. You know, and Chris is like, you know, Christina's like, okay, you got to get me here. Right. Okay. What are we going to do to get you here? So right out of the gate, it was, well, anybody who's been around Christina can sense this energy and feel the energy. It's okay. I really got to step up as a coach and help get her where she wants to go because she's ready to go and I need help with her.
That's awesome. Well, so like, what did you guys work on first? Either Mark or Christina. What was like the first step in? Was it, you know, flow? What were the things that you started to, the puzzle pieces you started to put together to then grow? Because from what I understand, Christina, that first year after coaching, it was a 3x growth.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yep. Tripled my business continually. So that was, I don't know. What did we work on first, Mark?
I think you just got really, really good with the systems. I mean, you know, well, it's kind of funny. So I remember 2 great conversations that year. We're sitting there in June of that year and you made more money than you ever made by June. I wish I need to have a shirt, you know, said, what would Larry say or what would Larry do? It's like, hey, let's go back and look at, you know, how did this start? And you actually said it started in November. We started business planning and you started implementing the process in December. You didn't wait till January or February to start your year. And you just started the relationships. I think you really took your relationships to the next level. Real estate reviews, the notes, you're a master of notes. I think the biggest word you used to use is intentional. Is every conversation was intentional. What can I learn about this person to add more value for the relationship? And that was then. And then August, you kind of it was like the only time I ever had a down moment with her on the phone. She's like, I'm not going to hit this goal this year. And I'm like, okay, so let's take it back up here, right? You're on track to like blow your goal out of the water. You're going to be well over 300. And I don't remember what it was, like 350 or something. And, you know, let's go back and look at something different you did this year that you didn't do before. and you went back and looked at your business, and you had like 6 or 7 new transactions from real estate reviews.
Right.
So we just said, okay, hey,
Yeah.
let's not think of 888. Let's think of, we need to figure out how to make $222,000 this last quarter, and then that'll steamroll us into the next year. Let's do a focus. And that's kind of where I came about. My challenge for the agents is, that's when the September real estate review challenge came about. And Christina still had tied that record there of 19 live real estate reviews in the month of September, which created a monster finish to the year, which jump-started great start to the next year.
Mark, and I love that you bring that up, because that correlation between people that lean into the real estate reviews and the results that then follow the actions that are taken with those real estate reviews, that's pretty consistent. That's not like, oh, somebody just got lucky. They just had some great results off that. And, I don't know, might have been the real estate reviews, maybe not, but I guess it is every single time. And Christina, I love that you hold the record right now for, is it 19, Mark? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
That's a lot of real estate reviews in 1 month.
I want to highlight live real estate reviews, right? In person. So Christina, tell us about that and how that maybe has shaped just because obviously you're probably still very consistent with real estate reviews at this point. So how did that challenge that Mark gave you kind of just shape the way you think about and look at real estate reviews?
Well, I'm super competitive. So if somebody sets up a game or like a challenge, I'm going to win. So I was like, well, that's it. I'm going to have to do the most. So, which I didn't know what the most would be, but I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do as many as I can. And I remember I had some funny ones where, when I was really setting them up, where I set up to go have coffee with somebody and then didn't even think about asking. They didn't even drink coffee. When I got there, I was like, what coffee can I get you? Oh, I'll just take the water. I don't drink coffee. Well, that was dumb of me. I should have known that. So really doing real estate reviews was really good, because I had no idea this person didn't love coffee or even want a coffee, but they didn't even know they wanted to sell until we sat down. And that's what I found with a lot of people. I wasn't even trying to get them to sell. I was just giving them their information that they had no idea. And that was kind of fun. I just really loved it. Mark, I wasn't sure how to do it, because like, okay, in person, this is strange, because I always thought of that as I didn't have people come to my office. I always went out to them, and we always met at a coffee place or somewhere public. And then I got really good where I'd set it up where I just have people come to the coffee place. So I'd sit almost there all day long, and new people would come in. It would be like it was my office. And the coffee people thought it was interesting, because they're like, she is there. We're like, that's her 6th person she's there with today. But they had food, so it made it work. But I just got really hooked on learning about my people. And I did not give them the real estate reviews to discuss with them. I actually made it a point it was not about that. It was really about them and learning about them. I needed to learn whether they liked coffee. I needed to learn what was important to them, because apparently I didn't before in some of those things. So I just started deepening my relationships with my people. And then at the end, I'd be like, oh yeah, remember I was giving you this? And we would talk about it if they wanted to.
Now, Christina, I would feel that was something that's natural to you. You seem like the type of person that's going to put those people first no matter what. So with doing the real estate reviews, did that just give you more of an opportunity to have that time with those people? Is that how you were taking it? Or did you have a strategy around that? Did you, Mark, work up a strategy? What did that look like?
One strategy, it became one of my things. I remember I was telling Mark I needed to be a tongue biter. What was it? Is that what I said?
Yeah.
I needed to not talk, because I have a tendency to talk too much, which is terrible. So I really tried to volley the conversation where I was only talking 30% of the time. So that was kind of my goal. And they talk 70%. What I found is that people got uncomfortable. If I would almost bump it down to maybe 20%, they would be like, well, you need to tell me something. I've been talking the whole time. And that is my goal, for them to talk all the time, but not feel like they were talking all the time. So it was like a balance.
You need one of those chess timers.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you get a chance to talk, you hit the little button on it, and then it's their turn, and you look at the tally, you're like, okay, we did it.
Yes, that is exactly what I need.
So now, okay, so you implement these real estate reviews. That's obviously working well. And Mark, great for you. I remember when you started the challenge for people, and our coaches.
Can you tell us about that challenge? Like, what are the specifics of that challenge?
we're trying to figure out, okay, how do we got to finish the year out so we can kind of catapult into that. And I said, okay, hey, let's just really get. And then I wasn't coach. I was, still part-time coaching back then. And I don't think only had like 10 people I was coaching, and said, hey, let's just put it out there to the group and see who could do the most and see if that'll help. And then Christine was like, of course, it's like game on. Like, she's like, bring it. Okay. Half the people really didn't do it. And the other half kind of jumped in. And I think it was really you and another person I was coached at the time. Really, that became the challenge. Christina started out so strong, and then I think you got sick near the end, and then it kind of like you would have did more if you didn't get sick, I believe.
Probably.
And it just kind of catapulted into, and like Christine said, she used the real estate reviews as a vehicle to be in flow with people. It wasn't about the real estate. The real estate reviews was just kind of a reason. Like even the first time I think you showed me, Garrett, when we were still living here, is like, hey, let's go grab a burger and a beer. Hey, by the way, this is something I think you can use for your business. And it was so natural and casual. I think that's where I really learned how to help people with it, is realize it wasn't about the real estate review. It was about the relationship.
Yes.
I remember that lunch, man. I totally remember that. It's funny you brought that up.
Yeah, and I think Christina uses it the same way as, whether it's going and taking a crumble cookie to somebody's house, they invite her in every time, and it's all about the family, what's going on, the minor parts, the real estate review. But I think one of your conversations was people were like, hey, we've been in our house 4 years. I didn't realize that. We need to move. And then all of a sudden it turned into a listing presentation.
That's, a lot of the way that it works. So obviously the real estate reviews have worked for you, Christina. And I know that you're natural at building relationships with people. People are drawn to you, and it's the craziest thing. So a lot of you don't know, my 16-year-old son does a lot of our editing, and he does a lot of stuff for our business in the background in his free time. And he gets so excited when Christina's on one of the videos that he knows he's going to be able to edit. He's like, I just love her. And my son doesn't say that about everybody. And so, Christina, you have this natural energy that lights people up. So obviously the real estate reviews work for you, but in getting to your successes, and I do want to talk a little bit about what like your best years have been and the highest incomes that you've hit, because you started this at 150, 190,000, pretty consistently $100,000 a year business. First off, tell me what your best or highest income that you've hit using the Ninja systems. And let's jump back into some of the systems that helped you get there.
I think it was over 6, wasn't it, Mark?
Yeah, I think you had
680 or something fun like that. With an average sales price, I think my average sales price is like 400,000. So it's not that I was doing these multi-million-dollar fun things.
You just answered my next question I was going to ask, which what was the average selling price? So about 680 income, GCI. That's incredible. Well, by the way, Christina, congratulations with what you created and what you've built and where you've gone. That's absolutely amazing.
Thanks.
Well, one caveat to that, Garrett, is she took 13 mini vacations that year.
Oh, yeah.
Why not?
So going back to Matt, work-life harmony.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm a vacation nut. I just had lunch with a client yesterday and gave them the real estate review because it was fun. It was already ready to go. And they were laughing because I have 2 vacations this month. And I said, well, if you would have called me next week, I would have been gone. And so they're always laughing at, I'm always gone, but yet I'm always working.
I'm curious about the structure behind this too, because I think people listening will be like, oh, well, she owns a brokerage. She must have a whole team and all this stuff that's behind her. So I know that's not true. So you're still a solo agent. So tell us a little bit, do you have a transaction coordinator? What are the pieces you've put in place to allow you to take vacation and still close? I mean, that's over 50 deals in a year.
Yeah. So I have, it's me, go team. Yay. I have a coordinator. I'm a transaction coordinator. And then I also have a part-time assistant. I did hire a part-time assistant. I want to say in 2020, she works 2 or 3 days a week, up to her. I'd love her full-time, but she likes part-time.
Part-time.
So that works for me.
Yeah.
So I just really work.
That's incredible.
I work when I'm home and then I'm gone when I'm gone, if that makes any sense. So, I'm really home 2 weeks a month.
And your business all comes from referral repeat, correct?
Yes. So I think it's funny when I look at those numbers, I started out with 200, maybe 192 was what was in my database of people that I marketed to. Those are my people. And now I'm up to 430. And I really say I didn't start working with different people. I just got really good at working with my people and figuring out who my people were. And I think that's where Mark really helped me because it was like, oh yeah, your hairdresser, your allergist, all the people that you're already seeing all the time, they are your people. So I started figuring out that I had more people than I realized. I just didn't know. See, it's the beauty of having an outside person.
100%. And as you start to work more and more with the people that know you, like you, and trust you, and figure out as you're 430s, you said you figured out who your people were that were already all around you. Let's go back real quick to the 17 mini vacations that you took, because a lot of people can't figure out how to walk away from the business. They get stuck and sucked into it, where it's like, if you want to make $600,000+ a year, taking 17 mini vacations doesn't go hand in hand with that for most people. How have your clients allowed you, or how has that been with being able to take those vacations and maintaining those relationships with your people?
So, it's funny, and it just hit me right now. My vacations, most of the time, are with my people. So my husband's a fireman, so we have softball tournaments in Vegas. We have them everywhere. We have them in San Diego and in San Jose. So my week-long tournament, I'm actually hanging out with 15 of my clients and their whole families. And we are fording all the time. All I'm doing is I'm there with the family and loving on them. So I'm kind of working, but I'm not really working, if that makes sense. I'm just having fun.
Matt, this is the epitome of work-life harmony.
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, this is what, you strive for. I mean, a lot of people say, hey, I don't want to do business with my friends and my family. Like, there's too much. It's like, no, if you do business with your friends and family, like, you're just always there, just living, and business just happens. I love that, Christina.
Well, and it wasn't the plan, if that makes sense. So like, it was funny at the moment. So I go to my husband's softball tournaments all the time. I'm like the number one fan. I should be like team mom. And, we're in our 50s, but I'm not team mom. But I'm there at every game. It doesn't matter. And everybody on the team knows it. So like, I'm like the one staple that's going to the game. But I'll take a work call here and there. And so they all know what I do for a living, but I don't think of any of them as my clients, or at least I didn't initially. And then I started getting calls like, hey, would you help my mom? Would you help my aunt? Would you help us? And I'm like, I didn't even realize that like they thought of me as their people. And I kind of became the team mom or the team realtor, not just by natural. That makes sense.
Christina, your story there resonates with me because I have a lot of people that when they really start to implement Ninja, and they do it authentically, they really build solid relationships around the world. A lot of times they'll say to me, has all this business been here the whole time? And I think it's one of those things that, yeah, the business has been there the whole time. It just hasn't been being attracted into your world. And it sounds like that's something that you unlocked.
I did. And it was really fun. And the more I got my husband on the same page, like understanding what I was doing, where like, he's not allowed to quit playing softball, just so he knows. I told him. And he actually has stopped playing, but now we go to the games as fans. Now we're both there, sitting there, because, those are our people.
I love it.
That's so incredible.
Well, and that's a great point, Chris. I remember meeting Paul when we were out at leadership together. And they're just such a great combination, great partnership, great couple there. But after that, Christina used to go to many of his events for his business. And once she started really taking Ninja, Garrett and I kind of differ sometimes on pie time and, counting some of that as I time. But she would come out of there with 18, 20 plus conversations and some great forward stuff. And, and then Paul started after that, go, hey, you got to go talk to Matt. I think Matt's going to be moving soon. He should be on your warm list. Make sure you talk to Garrett before you leave too, because they're getting, they're empty nesters.
Yeah, he's definitely like my biggest fan.
That's good to have the spouse partnered up. I love that.
I love it.
So in 2020, you decide to start your own brokerage. Mark, what went through, because I'm sure Christina came to you and was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. So what inspired that, and how did that look? I mean, you opened up. Well, Mark, you first. Like, what inspired? Like, what was that conversation like, and how did you guide Christina through that, making that decision? Then we can go into that first year, which was certainly an interesting one, I'm sure.
I was a little freaked out as a coach because all of a sudden you got somebody who's like on this trajectory to keep going, and all of a sudden she wants to throw this new wrinkle in there, which all of a sudden, okay, and trying to figure out how to ask the question. It's like, hey, have you thought about this? Because you're going to be pulling all kinds of energy away from your people, right? You already have, but there is other reasons in there. And I think it kind of goes always back to, what was the why behind it? And her why was so powerful. And she thought about it. It wasn't a whim, we kind of bounced around a couple of really ideas of how to do it. But she also had a vision of what she wanted her office to look like. And actually on her vision board, she's got her at home, real estate office with about 8 to 12 ninjas all around it. Like, I'm only going to attract
bunch of little ninjas around it.
Little ninjas around that. Only people that are going to come in the office have to do their business the ninja way. Otherwise it's not going to work for me. That's not my system. So I think she was really clear on what she wanted. And we just kind of devised another plan. Okay, how do we keep your same energy here with that still attracting the same direction, if that makes sense?
Definitely. And so, Christina, what's that first year like? 2020, you're opening a brokerage. How did you pull people in and how did you get through that? I mean, it was a wild year for real estate, that's for sure.
It definitely was. So I should back up just slightly. So one of the big things that happened was we had a huge tragedy in our family. And that happened in 19, which had you really like evaluate your life. Like, what are you doing? And so that's when I'm like, you know what? I need to open up my own company. And I know Mark was really big on like making sure I wasn't going to get derailed from where I was at in my business. So I outsourced it. All the things that take to open up a company where you have to do the posting and the pay. I don't actually know what I had to do because I didn't do it. I hired somebody to do it because I wanted to open up my own company and I didn't want to lose my focus of my people. So I did outsource. That has probably been something that's been very big with Ninja is me learning what I'm not good at and how I can hire somebody to do it. And that was very, very helpful. I'm sure I would have been hugely distracted if I had to figure out how to do all those things that I don't do for a living. I don't open up companies.
Wow.
I just hired the right person.
That's really interesting. I've never thought about that. And I'm sure a lot of people who are thinking of that path have never thought like, oh, I could actually just hire somebody to do all this organizational, operational, corporate stuff that needs to be done. And what a great way to get into it.
Yes, because I was very fortunate to be able, because through forwarding with my clients, I found out that one of my clients actually did that for people. And I'm like, you do? Well, that's awesome. Cool. And so here we go. Tell me what I need to do. And she was like, okay, you have to make these decisions. And I'm like, okay, because I need to be focused on doing my real estate reviews and I needed to stay in my systems with Ninja. It's boutique. It's very small.
Christina, so many people miss out on a lot of times when they're looking for help for their business, I always tell them, look into your database. You have this incredible wealth of people sitting right in front of you right now. And then they go and they place an ad in Craigslist or in Facebook or somewhere out there looking for someone to help them with their business. And I'm always like, look right here. And it sounds like that's what you did. You literally found all of the resources you need right inside your people that you already had there. It's what I asked a lot of people to do. So well done.
Thanks. Yeah, that was fun.
So obviously the growth of this business. So 2020, Mark helps you through that. And obviously everything's going really well for you running your own business currently right now today. Here we are starting 2024, correct?
Yes.
Absolutely love it. Now, if you look at what's been the biggest impact for you over these years using the Ninja selling systems, I would love to dive into that a little bit. And I'd also like to dive into a little bit of what your coaching relationship has been with Mark, because obviously you guys resonate really well together. And Mark, maybe you need to jump in on this also about what you've seen kind of the biggest growth factors and what's worked well for Christina. But Christina, I'd love to throw it at you first. What has been kind of your primary place other than your relationships? How have you really leaned into those to get the results that you've received?
I would say getting my home life really on the same page with what I'm doing, what my goals are. I feel like I was a secret realtor in my home. Like nobody knew how I was getting business or how I was doing business. And once I became like a sharer of it, if that makes sense, like taking my husband to a leadership installation was huge because he doesn't do real estate. It's not what he wants to do. He's a fireman. But for him to learn why I do, it really helped because then he became like, oh, like I just need to support you in this. And yeah, I didn't know how to tell him that. I didn't know how to share what I was doing. I was just doing it.
There's a lot of people that are secret agents sitting at home wondering why their business isn't taking off. Now, did that change when you brought Mark in to kind of help you start to analyze, like, how are we going to get you to this monster goal that you threw down on your receiving list?
Yeah, it was huge. Mark, just having an outside person that's looking like, I don't know if I'd say like a fly, but from overhead looking at your whole business objectively, like, hey, did you look at this? Have you, did you realize you're doing this? I'm just so focused in what I'm supposed to be doing that thankfully I'm checking in with him every week with my Monday morning agenda and, talking every other week that I'm learning. He really sees what I'm doing and he can really see some trends or where I'm going, where I'm just busy working, where I might not see that. So it's nice. It's a very one-sided relationship though, which is very opposite Ninja, because I'm supposed to talk all the time. And so it's different because I'm used to forwarding. And so I'm not supposed to be forwarding Mark, but I know so much about him, but it's just natural to want to know because that's how this Ninja relationship, that's how it works.
So Mark, I want to ask you real quick, in your time of coaching Christina, because you guys, again, you've helped her down a tremendous path. And Christina, as you kind of alluded to, it hasn't always been easy. You had a major life event happen in 2019. And I look at a lot of coaching relationships and a lot of people go like, oh yeah, I had a coach for a while. And, and I know the system now. I know how to do it. I know how that works. And I always try to help people understand that, as our life evolves, we go through different experiences. We have different things happen, and having that coach in your world, we're always evolving and always changing. So Mark, I want to throw the question back to you again, which is like, how has this journey been for you in helping Christina get to where she is today?
Well, I always have to thank her because she makes me be a better coach, because when you have somebody that is that successful, how do you keep bringing your A game every time, especially, 7 years, but we always seem to find something. Christina, I got to give her kudos too, because she is so consistent with giving me her information. She sends me her pie tracker, which is the pie time tracker, sends me the weekly agenda consistently. So it gives you a better idea of kind of having that flyer, that bird's eye view of kind of what's going on. And you can kind of say, hey, awesome job, 36 notes. Like, what's going on there? Well, I had a bunch of birthdays and anniversaries. And then all of a sudden, hey, it's been 2 or 3 weeks since you did a real estate review. Oh, I know I've fallen off of that. Or, it's just those little tweaks along the way. I think it was a few months ago when we were looking, her volume of commissions was not where it normally would be in September. And I'm like, okay, what was last year like? Because this has been a different year. And I looked at last year, and her commissions was much higher, but the transactions was the same. And Christina's always good about calling herself on the carpet and say, hey, guess what? I'm looking at your agenda. I'm almost to the day. It was like 9-8 versus 9-9. Where do you think you were? And she goes, I think I kind of suck in this year, right? And I'm like, no, you got the same amount of transactions. And all of a sudden, what's going on, right? Your price point went down, right? And all of a sudden you're like, oh, I got to stop doing that price point. And I think one is she's so good about wanting to be better in her business plan, mastery, her accountability partner, her assistant, her coach. She goes, that's my business plan. It's part of my business as long as I'm doing this. And so I feel there's a role for us as coaches if, we have to bring that value to create the opportunity to help you grow that. And a lot of times it's not financial. It's the, Christina overcoming that tragedy. You basically doubled the business the next year. How people, be able to show people. And I think that's another tool is Christina allows me to share her story with other people, just like today. You give people a reason to say, hey, I can do this too. I mean, here's Christina, who's in the business for 17 years, reworked things and doubled the business. And then a few years later, after a tragedy, you double the business again. And you took 13 vacations one year and 17 the next year. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's interesting that the tragedies, the things that can happen in our lives and Christina, we talked about this before getting on the recording today of like, how much do we want to share about certain things? And I think the interesting thing about a tragedy or an event like that that's happened for us, any of us, it could be a thing that tears us down and stops us dead in our tracks, or it can be a thing that makes us stop and reevaluate and learn and say, okay, this is a turning point. And I feel for you, you literally use that as a pivoting moment kind of for you to refocus energy, to evaluate where you were, what you're growing. And I want to compliment you on that, because it was that was a kind of a turning point. I remember when it happened and me kind of going, okay, let's watch and see. Because as coaches, we see these things happen and we get in that moment of like, okay, how is this going to be interpreted by this person that we're working with? And we can't jump in and take the reins or do anything for you, but we can go through that journey with you. And I know Mark brought it up to me. We had lots of conversations when that was going on, and you literally took that energy and you said, I'm going to go create, which is really incredible.
Yeah.
So, Mark, looking at, again, this overall growth pattern that Christina's been on, you mentioned Christina being a sharer, and I've always watched this out of you, Christina, and you've been involved in a lot of my world and coaching and other parts of it for a long time, and you're involved in a lot of other pieces of it. Mark, can you share a little bit about her being this sharer? Because I think it resonates into her business also, of this giving mentality that she has.
Yeah, I mean, well, anytime we've asked, like, where it's a think tank or some of other conversations, I think she's also good about saying yes and no to the right and the wrong things. Like, she doesn't say yes to the wrong things. She says yes. I think we've had a few times where, hey, I'd love to have you on a session. We have a think tank coming up. Nope, I'm in Arizona that week. Nope, not going to do it. Most people are like, oh, I'll clear my schedule because you got to be famous a little bit. She's like, no, it doesn't work for me. It's like, because it's the ninja way. I think, it's not, she doesn't use ninja in her business. She uses ninja in her lifestyle. That you're willing to share your successes. You're willing to, I have a number of people who they tell me, oh, I've called Christine and I asked her some questions. And sometimes I feel bad because I know that takes extra time and energy, but you're like, it's what we do, right? It's like, people call up, I'm willing to share a story, or, hey, cattle prod, look, have you tried this? And you come from an abundance mentality. And I think almost feeds you to be better. I think when you share it with other people, say, hey, maybe I could do that a little better myself. And you get the energy from it.
So, Christina, for you, how has sharing worked for you? Because again, we get to see it on our end, but it's got to transfer over into your business. And I would assume real estate reviews and different elements around that. Like, you have this knowledge of real estate. I could see that transferring over of like, I want to give, I want to share, I want to educate people. Have you seen that's the way that's worked for you in your business?
For sure, because that's how I help my clients. I pretty much tell them that they're going to be like knighted, like be an honorary realtor by the time we're done, because I've got all this knowledge and my goal is to help them make really smart decisions. And so I'm just in charge of the information and they're in charge of the decisions. And as long as I can give them a ton of information and resources, it helps them feel really smart. Like they're making the decision that works for them.
I love it. I love it. And, so often we feel as realtors that we're the ones that have to have all the knowledge. And I love how you just said, my goal is that I'm almost going to be able to knight you or give you, you're going to have the knowledge at the end of this. And there's so few that look at giving that amount of knowledge because, there's power in knowledge. You want to hang on to it, right?
Yep.
But the power is in giving it away.
That's incredible. What a great way to run the business and everything. And Christina, I want to ask you one question because I'm thinking about your tenure in the industry. You've been through all the tech changes and everything, and you've stayed true and just focusing on relationships and not going down the rabbit hole on we need these fancy, tech tools and all that stuff. So, what have you seen over the years that maybe you were like, ooh, that kind of looks interesting, like got a little shiny object syndrome, but then you're like, nope, I'm just going to cruise right past that and stay in relationships. And I guess in a way of like, what advice would you give to somebody, out there who's thinking, oh, I need to have the perfect website with IDX, with lead capture and social media and all this stuff. What would you say to all that?
So there's a couple of things that really help when you do a business plan every year in November. And so all year long, people are trying to sell you on their get rich quick or get all these fun leads. And so every time they call or whatever, and I'm polite and I say, you know what, why don't you send me the information and I'll put it in my business plan in November, and I'll look at maybe putting it in my plan for next year. And I think I've only had one person actually call me back in November. And you're like, okay, how did it go with business planning? I'm like, well, it's next week, but thank you. And I will reveal it when I'm at my business planning session. So I'm I don't know if I'd say a lot of realtors can tend to be ADD a little bit and shiny object this way, that way. And maybe that's what makes this really good. Just trying not to fall for every shiny penny and put all the shiny pennies to November and make that decision then. So then you're not making these rash decisions of joining this, get these leads or get this thing. This thing is going to make you the latest, greatest pie or whatever it is.
I love that. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, because it's particularly beginning of the year. I mean, all those people who are getting pushed with this stuff in the end of the year, that's continuing right now too, as we speak. People getting the emails like, hey, we can do this, we can pump this up. And, this is where you got to stand firm and say, hey, no, I'm doubling down on my relationships. That's what I'm going to do instead, which clearly it's working for you and the rest of your team at Roundabout Real Estate. That's for sure.
Thanks.
One of the things I'd love to focus on as we kind of wrap this up, Christina, is, one of the feedback pieces that I've been getting from people that are hearing the Realtor Spotlights, the Ninja Spotlights that we've been doing here, is kind of they get a chance to get a sense of what it's like to be coached. And we've touched on it a little bit here. And I would love just to get your feedback on what it's been like having Mark Johnson, but also just having a coach in your world and in your business. And you've touched around it, but then you could just kind of expand on that a little bit of what that has been like, the power that it's been for you, and how it's helped you get to where you are today.
Okay. So for me, I would always have coaching in my business. I know all the ninja systems, but I need that outside party that's looking at what I'm doing and seeing any trends or something that if I'm diverting or changing because I found a shiny penny or however it is. The systems with having to check in weekly, being that Monday morning agenda, that's huge. I kind of nicknamed the ninja system as a crack filler, which I know sounds really weird, but people fall through the cracks with life, right? You're driving, somebody calls you, you write on a piece of paper. Oh yeah, I got to call them back. And then you forget. And so that Monday morning agenda allows me to make sure that I'm going through my phone, the ninja planner, that I'm not missing somebody, or at least too much time hasn't gone by where I've lost somebody. So those systems have been just life-changing and very, very helpful. Just having to send that to Mark and know that he needs to see it ahead of time, because our coaching session is not going to be very fun if he has nothing, he doesn't know where I'm at. So I better send him my stuff so he knows where I'm at, so we can talk about it.
It definitely helps the coaching conversation come to life when we have all the information. It's super helpful.
Yeah, it's go figure, right?
Amazing.
And I don't think I got that. I don't remember when I got that, but I thought, oh gosh, poor Mark. Here he's got to talk to me and he's got to coach me through this. He doesn't even know where I'm at. I need to make sure I send him this.
Well, as we talk about, the coaching relationship is very mutual, and we say as coaches, it's always fun to coach somebody who's coachable. And Christina, you are about the most coachable person I think I've ever come across. Mark has shared with me over the years so many times how incredibly coachable you are and how much fun it is to coach you. And it makes everything work when you're approaching it as, I get this person who's a fly on the wall who gets to see my business from a different angle. You don't come to Mark looking at it as, what's he going to teach me today? What new stuff does he have for me? This is really a working relationship. And I think it's why it's worked so well for the both of you. Mark, is there anything else you want to add in about Christina?
I mean, it's like we're just saying, it's, being so coachable is she really has the weekly routine laid out. Like, she treats it as a business, but the business comes from the relationships. And I still, as much as I know she talks about the routine and the structure, it's still, I think you went from 190 something people to 438, which we did, you actually tailed that down because you realize that there's some people on there that's just kind of fluff, and you need to really focus on the true people. She goes back to the ninja and the relationships, is how does she add more value for every relationship? Every call is intentional about what's going on in the world. When she was talking about her first business plan, on the very top of it, I still remember, is I need to learn to bite my tongue more. And it's kind of that 80-20 rule. Let them talk 80% of the time. But I think it's sharing that information, as you guys know, helps us be a better coach when you can get that bird's eye view before you get on the call so you can plan the call, but also giving some nuggets. And then she goes and takes that to a whole new level to make it her own. And and all of a sudden you look down and she goes from 1 or 2 transactions to 8 or 9 or whatever it might be. It's, it didn't just happen. She've added that line on, and we have our business plan of where your business came from. She adds a little line on there of real estate reviews. And I think consistently are probably between 12 and 15 deals per year that comes from real estate reviews.
Yes.
Amazing.
It's just very intentional with every activity she does, whether it's vacation with family or doing the weekly agenda or going to do a real estate review.
I love it.
Incredible.
Matt, anything we missed?
No, I think this has been awesome. Christina, thank you so much for sharing your journey here, or at least part of it. There's so much more, obviously, that we could cover because you've been in Ninja or around Ninja and implementing it for so long, which is awesome. So I want to just thank you for your commitment to the Ninja path and to everything that you've done in sharing this so that you can help others, and for starting your own brokerage to help show other people how to walk the Ninja path. And so just really appreciate you doing that and the wonderful energy you bring to everything that you show up for Ninja, whether it's this or when you're on a think tank or whatever. Like, everybody will certainly be able to recognize Christina because she has the most genuine smile you've ever seen. So thank you, Christina, for sharing this with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I know for sure a lot of you might have questions out there as we continue to put these out there and make these interviews live in the Facebook group and in the episodes for the podcast. So if you do have any further questions, Christina is active in the Facebook community and she's active all around Ninja. She's not hard to find. So if you do have any questions about her journey or her business, or if you want to reach out to Mark, we can answer any more questions that maybe did not get covered in this episode today. Christina, I want to say thank you so much. You've been in my life for a very long time. Your name has been around my world for a very long time. And I'm so grateful that we got to have a chance to hear your journey today and your experience of Ninja. So thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you. You're welcome.
And Mark, thank you.
Yeah, Mark, thank you so much. Appreciate you tons, man. You've been a friend of mine for a very long time, as well as a coach for us for a very long time now. And appreciate all the great work you're doing out there to help people along their path and help them stay along the journey of Ninja. And this has been great. Matt, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. This has been awesome. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in, as always, to these episodes. We appreciate you guys listening, sharing, commenting, all the wonderful things that you do to support this podcast and get it out there. And if there is somebody who you feel might benefit from hearing Christina's story, please do share this. Share this to those people and, help inspire more people to get on the Ninja path, because it's a wonderful way, of course, of doing business. And if you want to join our community, head over to Facebook and search for the Ninja Selling Podcast. You'll find an amazing community there of people who are learning Ninja, who are well-versed and very experienced in Ninja. Our coaches are in there. So it's a great place to kind of get to know each other and help walk that path together. So I advise you to check that out. And thanks everybody for tuning in. And all of you here, Mark, Christina, Garrett, thank you guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
If you enjoyed today's episode and would like more, visit us at theninjasellingpodcast.com.
There you will also find links for more information about Ninja selling and coaching. Have an incredible day.